Hi, everyone. We're Team SchistoSpot, and we're going to walk you through our senior design project. So a quick roadmap, we're going to walk through the disease that we're targeting and our proposed solution. So starting off the disease. Schistosomiasis is a parasitic disease that's caused by schistosome flatworms and is found mostly in tropical regions. There's a very unique life cycle where the worms infect tropical snails that reside in bodies of water, and there the snails or the worms mature and can infect humans. So a body of water is infected, it's very hard because these snails are really invasive and it's a very persistent disease. So the symptoms of the disease are very mild at first, but they can progress very rapidly and very dangerously. As the worms migrate in your body and lay eggs, very severe symptoms can arise, including throat closure, kidney failure, and even paralysis. So this disease can progress very rapidly if left untreated. To give an idea of how massive schistosomiasis is, at this very moment, about 140 million people are infected right now. And in 2018, less than half of those received treatment. And in sub-Saharan Africa, there were 200,000 deaths attributed to schistosomiasis. This makes it have a death rate of about 2%, 20 times more dangerous than the common flu. This is a disease of burden, which can infect entire countries along with the individuals. This disease is very dangerous for small children. If you get infected and it's untreated, you often have lifelong problems, including stunted growth and reduced cognition. This makes it harder to earn income as you're older, leaving you in poverty. And on the social side, about $4 billion is lost in worldwide productivity, and this number doesn't even include healthcare costs or medical costs. With those figures included, this burden could exceed $10 billion. So for our focus in the disease, we're going to focus on the subspecies Schistosoma hematobium, the urinary blood fluke. This worm targets the bladder and those it infects, where it lays eggs. Current diagnostics rely on looking at these eggs in the urine after it comes out of the infected host, but these tests are often pretty expensive or not very sensitive. And on top of that, they often require trained professionals, which can be difficult to get in a continent like Africa where healthcare isn't very top notch.
This brings us to our solution to the problem. So our solution relies on the intersection between hardware and software. First, we require a low-cost microscope that has the ability to pick up 100 micrometer eggs, which is the size of the schistosome eggs, in a low-cost fashion. In addition, we need to interface this with a software aspect of our product, which will give us the ability to use a computer vision algorithm that can identify these eggs that are picked up by the microscope. Taking these things into account, we were able to come to our solution, which is the SchistoSpot device, which is visualized here. An automated diagnostic device that does not require trained professionals and can successfully diagnose infected patients. The device consists of three main components: the microscope stand, the imaging channel, and the smartphone itself. So we will go into each of these three things, starting with the microscope stand. So the microscope stand we initially started off with can be seen here, which took advantage of two lenses, an eyepiece lens and objective lens, which resulted in an 100x magnification when they were aligned. However, we had difficulty aligning these lenses in a low-cost fashion, which led to our second design, which we also came to because the imaging quality was not ideal. When we used laser pointer lenses, however, this imaging quality improved drastically, as can be seen on the right. In addition, these small laser pointer lenses can be press fit into laser cut material, which allowed us to come to our final design here. So as you can see with this microscope stand design, we have two 1/8 inch acrylic pieces that are combined together with the use of dowel rods. On the top of the device, you can see a hole for the smartphone camera and a hole slightly below that for the flash, which will allow us to illuminate the sample. On the bottom of the device, which you can see in the top left image, there is an adjusting screw, which allows us to adjust the height of the microscope stand in order to focus the channel. This brings us to our channel, which we achieved using a 3-layer design with a 0.8 millimeter thickness in the middle that is made of PCA and two acrylic pieces of 1.6 millimeters in thickness on the outside. We used acrylic cement to combine these together into the product on the right. And here you can see some stats on our focusing of the channel. and we used this to ensure that our channel thickness was inside the range of visibility, which we were able to do. Here's a quick video of the setup of the SchistoSpot. You can see here liquid flowing through a tube. It is in red here that we colored it so you can visualize it easier. We can see that there's no leakage, and here we get a live look at what it looks like through the lens itself.
All of the images used for training the algorithm were taken as screenshots from a video recorded in lab, which is shown, a sample of which is shown on the right. The first 4 steps of the algorithm are done in pre-processing, which are used to make the last few steps more trivial. The pre-processing steps we go over in the next few slides. The last few steps involve traversing the pixels in the image and identifying groups of similar colored white pixels, which will be each egg. So here's a sample image, and you can see there's 2 eggs circled in the tube. The area of focus is just the tube right there in the middle. It's much smaller than the total area of the image. The eggs are really difficult to see even when circled, and the light has overwhelmed the top and the bottom, making those areas almost useless for computation. So there's a lot of issues with this picture, and stuff can be done to reduce this, such as applying a Gaussian blur and subtracting this from an original grayscaled image. This makes the eggs much easier to identify, although there's still a lot of noise coming from the right. And the last big issue is there's a large area outside the tube as shown by the border in red. The traversal of the pixels will have to go over all of this. So the solution to this is to crop the image, which makes it easiest to identify the eggs. It limits the noise to just a few spots on the top, and there's no longer the unnecessary area as shown by the border in red again. By setting the size of the blobs to be the size of the eggs shown on the bottom, it completely eliminates the need to look at the spots at the top, making them useless.
The SchistoSpot smartphone app brings together this algorithm and the other aspects of patient diagnosis into a streamlined automated process. This includes sample capture and analysis, the ability to then view the patient data and past results, a geographic heat map with locations of positive diagnoses, and an about page with hardware and app setup and troubleshooting help. This is a cross-platform React Native app, so it works on all recent Android and iOS devices, and it is integrated with Google Firebase for database functionality and authentication. Here we have the user flow diagram for the app, where you can see that after logging in, you're taken to the home screen, which is shown on the previous slide, where you then have options to navigate to the about page, the infection heat map, to view patient data, or to start an analysis. And when starting analysis, you're prompted to either create a new patient profile or enter an existing one. Then the app is ready to start, where it will capture the sample flow, run the image analysis algorithm, and output the results to the user and into the database. And finally, we have some screenshots from the app, where from left to right, we have the screen to create a new patient profile, screen to start analysis with smartphone camera, and then the interactive infection heat map.
This leads us to the final results. The total cost of the microscope is less than $14. This does not cost in the price of a new smartphone, but smartphones are widely prevalent and the app is used on all Android and iOS devices, so it is very widespread. There's several different parameters that need to be trained in order to ensure efficiency of the algorithm. The first is a distance parameter, which measures the distance between 2 points in the picture to determine which eggs are separate from others. You'll notice that there's a trade-off between accuracy and egg accuracy, whereas the accuracy is in the total number of images correctly computed is not necessarily related to the number of eggs correctly counted over all of the images, which is egg accuracy. This is because there can be undercounting or overcounting in an image where one image might count extra and one might count less. The next parameter that was trained was the Gaussian reduction. So by reducing the Gaussian too much from the grayscaled image, you get the 2 samples on the right. This leads to undercounting as eggs are faded into the background because they are reduced too much. And by not applying the Gaussian reduction enough, then there's too little, and this allows noise to seep through, which leads to overcounting and, again, produces inconsistent results. Ultimately, this led to the final parameters of setting the distance threshold to 8.4 and the Gaussian reduction to -1.2. Over the set of 34 images which were taken from the video, the accuracy was 76%, and the egg accuracy was 95%. You can see that this egg accuracy is reflected in the 5 undercounted images and the 3 overcounted images.
And now to value and future directions. Our main future design goals include an IV bag setup to facilitate gravity-driven flow instead of something like a syringe from our previous video. Improved imaging channel that's thinner and uses a glass slide for higher optical imaging quality. Improved stand, as currently there is a flash hole, but no mechanism to direct the flash and to filter or diffuse the flash. And lastly, the image analysis algorithm can be further fine-tuned. The impact of a successful solution is low-cost diagnostic in the hands of patients without the need for trained medical professionals, and a drastic reduction in treatment costs through targeted treatment. And the huge potential financial impact can be easily seen, stemming from this drastic reduction in treatment costs through targeted treatment, which reduces the number of people treated unnecessarily. Thanks for listening.